were able to go through the top 5 defensive storylines, and you can check those out on btn.com. But now we want to take you through the top 5 offensive storylines. So Mace is going to give us his top 5 storylines, and the Buckeyes is one of the most intriguing ones because they have a new offensive coordinator, new at least for Ohio State. Kevin Wilson, the former Indiana head coach. What can we expect to see from him with the Buckeyes?
Well, first of all, typically when you look at storylines offensively during spring practice, one would look at total coaching changes or some team that's looking to replace their quarterback. But you're right, this year there's really some great storylines, none better than Ohio State. You talk about Kevin Wilson leaving Indiana, getting fired by Indiana, and going to Ohio State. How often do you see that happen within a conference?
Right.
Not very often. And Kevin Wilson at Indiana, I used to talk about it each week. No one did a better job offensively than Kevin Wilson in the Big Ten. When you take into account the talent they had to work with, they were dynamic. They could light up the scoreboard like you couldn't believe. Not always playing great defense, but always great offense. Now he moves to Ohio State, where arguably he's going to have a lot better talent to work with than he did at Indiana. And you take Urban Meyer. This is a monumental for Urban because you think about that power spread offense. He used it at Bowling Green. He used it at Utah. He used it at Florida. He used it at Ohio State. When Tom Herman was there as the offensive coordinator and they talked about Tom Herman's offense, no, it was Urban Meyer's offense. Well, as of late, he hasn't been happy. He was very critical of his offense last year, especially his downfield passing attack. He made some changes. He brings Kevin Wilson in at the same time. He says, as Urban Meyer being the head coach, he's going to take more of a CEO role. He's going to hand it over to Kevin Wilson. There wasn't a defensive coordinator in this league that didn't hate to have to defend Kevin Wilson at Indiana. What do you think they're going to think now?
Certainly will be interesting to see what he is able to do there and how, as you pointed out, how he's incorporated into that staff with Urban Meyer. Now, the flip side is that Kevin Wilson has left Indiana, so now Indiana has a big gap for offense. They have their defensive coordinator taking over. So what will the offense even look like at Indiana without Kevin Wilson?
Well, that's why it's very intriguing. Tom Allen was the defensive coordinator new last year. And, if you were going to be critical of Kevin Wilson, some people said he didn't even know how to spell defense. Now, Tom Allen did a real good job there. He's a defensive coach through and through. He's lost not only his offensive coordinator, but the guy that ran that program getting fired in Kevin Wilson. It's going to be interesting. He is not Kevin Wilson on offense. That was his offense. And, Jillian, typically, defensive coaches, they don't like that wide-open attack that Kevin Wilson had. As I mentioned before, Kevin really didn't worry about defense. He thought he could just outscore everybody. Those defensive coaches, they like ball control. They like to shorten the game. You're going to see a new offense. I don't think it's going to be near as dynamic, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, this seems to be a theme throughout the Big Ten and our storylines is looking at the new offensive coordinators because our next big one is Jerry Kill being back on Big Ten sidelines. He's at Rutgers. Now, we know Chris Ash liked or wanted to be running the spread offense, but everything just failed miserably for Rutgers. There's no way to sugarcoat this. They were last in the entire country in total offense. So what will this offense look like with Jerry Kill as the offensive coordinator?
Yeah, Jerry Kill, he's a coach. He's a very established, very experienced coach. And you think about him retiring as the head coach because of health reason at Minnesota. He takes an administrative role at Kansas State, but not for long. He's at Rutgers. And, Chris Ash, as you already mentioned, they really struggled there. Chris Ash, first head coaching job, young guy. He went for experience. He got a lot of experience in Jerry Kill. When you look at offense for Jerry Kill, and I'm not just talking about Minnesota, before that Northern Illinois, before that Southern Illinois, there was a Jerry Kill offense. It's a power, run, attack, ball control, a lot of motions, a lot of shifts. Are we going to see the Minnesota attack in New Jersey? I think so.
Oh, well, it'll be interesting to see how he does it. We know Chris Ash wanted to run the ball. It's just they couldn't get a lot going this past season. All right, and Penn State, this is kind of the flip end of that because they were one of the best offenses in the conference. And they have Trace McSorley coming back. They have Saquon Barkley coming back. How high is the ceiling for this Penn State offense?
You know, if I was still coaching, I'd say scary. You know, you look at what they did a year ago. Trace McSorley, as you already mentioned, coming back with a year under his belt. The mobility that he gives the Penn State Nittany Lions I think, has really been the difference. Saquon Barkley, there's not a better running back in the country, but that offensive line's getting better and better and better. And when you think about Joe Moorhead, the offensive coordinator, another year under his belt in that system, Matt Limegover, the offensive line coach, I think you put all those things together, and they may be unstoppable.
Nebraska is interesting as well because they were pretty middle of the road as far as their offense, but now Tommy Armstrong is gone. So what kind of holes do they need to fill on that Nebraska offense in order to kind of get their offense jump-started?
Jillian, the saga continues out there in Lincoln. You think about Mike Riley, got a tremendous amount of respect for him. Very successful coach from Oregon State, but he didn't have success at Oregon State running a typical Nebraska-style offense, and he inherited Tommy Armstrong and all the loyalists of Nebraska. They want to run the football. He had to play to the hand that he was given. Now he's gone. Tommy Armstrong's gone. Riker Fife is gone. Pressure is building out there. My question is, what does Mike Riley do? Does he try to still do that what the Nebraska people want? Or does he go back and really run what he believed in at Oregon State?
Well, one more interesting storyline that we didn't get to touch on, but Iowa, with Kirk Ferentz's son taking over there, it will be really intriguing to see what happens there for the Hawkeyes. Well, Mason's actually going to stick around for